my midwife, when I found my midwife, I did not know she came from California, and California, they're licensed. They have a bunch of rules and whatever. And she was following the rules like she would in California. My midwife was on probation. All right. I did not know that. So my midwife was on probation for a baby almost dying in California and her not having a license. She was practicing without a license in a state where you do license, and they actually did turn her in, and so she did get criminally charged and she was on probation. She came over here to Nevada with no laws and just set up shop, and you can't find that out. You don't know that your midwife was on probation. Like that was a big shock to learn later on after my son died, that I picked a midwife that was on probation for almost killing a child and not following the rules in her state. That shocked the hell out of me, to be honest. And I want people to know that when you go to research your midwives, you may think this is a great midwife, you may think whatever, but you really don't know their background, and you can't find out how many babies have been transferred, how many babies have been injured, how many babies have died. You really cannot find that out. There's no way. It's not like something that you can look up of what marks have been on a doctor or a nurse. There's just absolutely nothing you can do when it comes to midwives. You cannot find them. They don't exist. And so that I wanted to add in there because this is something that I didn't know, I wouldn't know, and I feel like other people should know about that, because that's it's insane. It doesn't make any sense. You're going off in something that's one of the most important like parts of our lives, and you're on probation. You're a criminal handling births. That just should not be allowed. And NARM should have taken that license away, like, or her certification. It's not even a license. It should have been taken away. Like, sorry, but it should have. So
a sneaky way, though, to find out if your midwife has been involved with that. I mean, you wouldn't think to do it being on one side of it, but being on the other side and seeing how many disasters happen in this world. If you look up GoFundMe and see if there's a fund for that midwife, you're going to find out a lot more than you would just Googling, or maybe if your state recognizes that credential, looking it up, because normally the midwives will pull together and they'll do something. They'll pay for the fees for a lawyer or whatever. That's unfortunately the only way you're going to find out anything. And most people would not think to do that.
And what a slap in the face to a lost parent to lose your baby and then to see a GoFundMe set up to support the negligent provider who killed your baby. Like, what? And that you're absolutely right how common that is. And that's just all I can think of when I see those midwifery GoFundMes, is just what a slap in the face that is.
Yeah, I saw one recently, and it was organized by the midwife for the parents. But if you look closely, the person who's benefiting is the midwife. Mm-hmm. The parents didn't have the money to cover all the fees, and you had to look really close to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you didn't have to look really close to see it, because I managed to miss it even though it was sitting in front of my face. But someone else pointed it out, and I was like, oh, I just kind of assumed she was supporting the family, but no, it was her name under the beneficiary. She put up a post on her professional page saying, this family just lost their baby. It was very tragic. They don't have money for the funeral and hospital expenses. Please donate. And then it was her name under the beneficiary. So I don't know if the family saw any of the money. It may have gone straight to her, which I think is quite the dirty trick.
Right. I do want to ask, but I thought that on the Gatehouse series, they do have a function to check your midwife.
Yeah.
I thought they set that up.
Mm-hmm. There is a thing
like for birth centers or for midwives.
I think it's midwives, and I think the birth centers are very, very hard, because we learned when we went to Florida, there's supposed to be like a doctor is supposed to be signed to be over to have a certified like home birth, like a home birth at a birth center. But we actually learned while we were in Florida that they have chiropractors or other people sign as the doctor to open up and have a birth center. So they were getting around the loop, like they were looping around the law to basically, to have like a doctor, but it's you. So you think like, hey, an OB gynecologist is running this birth center, but as it turns out, it was actually something that has nothing to do with birth or labor at all. So I'm not totally sure. There might be a list of some of the stuff with the birth centers, because I do know they did research on some of the birth centers, but there is some of the midwives. The only problem that I know that they were finding is a lot of the midwives move, and a lot of them change their names. Mine changed her name. A lot of them will change them to a nickname. They change even their last name to their maiden names, to somebody else's name. So it's really hard to find them and keep track of them, because they do bounce around a lot. So maybe they stay in the same community, but they've changed their name. So then if you're looking up, like if you looked up my midwife, you would see of what she did here, but you wouldn't see what she did there because she changed her name. So it's really hard to track them. I think they could only put so many on there of that they could actually find the paperwork, which is also another hard thing to find, with their name, with, okay, this one is actually linked to a baby death. This one's actually linked to this baby death. It's very, 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 very hard to find that, because even coroner's reports, it's sorry, but if you go to the hospital, you are no longer from a midwife anymore. You are now the hospital's responsibility. So it's very, very hard to find those midwives, which is another thing of hard to find like research for them, because we just don't have the data. We can only assume from the little tiny pieces that we get of what's going on in the United States, which we know is, there's a lot more going on that we can only imagine of what's happening. So, but yes, they do have a little bit, but it's so small compared to how many midwives are actually out there.